In 1934, a woman named Margaret arrived at Florence Scovel Shinn's office completely exhausted. She had been working 3 jobs for 2 years, barely sleeping 4 hours a night, and still couldn't make ends meet. Her health was failing, her spirit was broken, and despite all her effort, she was deeper in debt than when she started. Florence looked at her and said something that seemed impossible. "Stop trying so hard. Your exhaustion is blocking your prosperity." Then she taught Margaret a technique to practice while sleeping. Margaret was skeptical but desperate enough to try. She went home that night and applied the principle exactly as instructed. The next morning, something extraordinary happened. Within 30 days, Margaret had quit 2 of her jobs. Her income had doubled, and money was flowing to her from sources she never anticipated. She wasn't working harder. She was working with spiritual law. And today, I'm revealing the exact principle Florence Scovel Shinn taught about attracting prosperity during sleep, and why your subconscious mind is the most powerful manifestation tool you possess. Most people believe that making money requires constant effort, grinding, and sacrifice. They think prosperity comes from doing more, working longer, pushing harder. This belief is exhausting you and blocking your abundance. Florence Scovel Shinn understood something that modern society has forgotten. Your subconscious mind never sleeps. And while your conscious mind rests, your subconscious is either creating prosperity or poverty based on whatever you programmed into it before sleep. She wrote in The Game of Life and How to Play It. The subconscious mind is simply power without direction. It has no power to reason or reject. It accepts as truth whatever the conscious mind impresses upon it. This means the thoughts, words, and images you hold in your mind as you fall asleep become instructions that your subconscious works on all night long. If you fall asleep worried about money, complaining about bills, anxious about your financial future, you are instructing your subconscious to create more lack. But if you fall asleep in a state of abundance consciousness, affirming divine supply, visualizing prosperity, you activate what Shinn called the law of subconscious manifestation. Your sleeping hours become the most productive prosperity hours of your entire day. Let me take you back to Margaret's story because what happened to her reveals how this principle operates. When Margaret came to Florence Scovel Shinn, she was trapped in what Shinn called the struggle consciousness. Margaret believed that money only came through hard physical labor, and that if she wasn't actively working, she wasn't earning. This belief had programmed her subconscious to equate prosperity with exhaustion. So even when she worked constantly, she remained poor because her subconscious was manifesting the struggle, not the prosperity. Florence explained to Margaret that there exists an infinite source of supply available to everyone at all times. This supply doesn't come from your job or your clients or your employer. It comes from divine mind, which Shinn described as the universal consciousness that governs all abundance. Your job is not to create prosperity through effort. Your job is to align your consciousness with the prosperity that already exists in divine mind. And the fastest way to do this is by impressing your subconscious with abundance consciousness while you sleep. Florence gave Margaret a specific practice. Every night before sleep, Margaret was to lie in bed and repeat one declaration for at least 10 minutes until she fell asleep. The declaration was this: Infinite Spirit, open the way for my immediate supply. Let all that is mine by divine right now reach me in great avalanches of abundance. This is my spiritual treatment. Margaret was instructed to speak these words slowly, with feeling, visualizing money flowing to her from unexpected sources, feeling the relief and joy of financial freedom, and maintaining this state until she drifted into sleep. The first night, Margaret did this but felt nothing. She woke up the next morning still broke and still exhausted. But Florence had warned her. The subconscious mind requires repetition and faith. One night of treatment doesn't undo years of poverty programming. So Margaret continued. Every single night for 30 days, she fell asleep speaking this declaration and visualizing abundance. And here's where the magic happened. On the 7th day, Margaret received a phone call from a distant relative she hadn't spoken to in years. This relative had been thinking about her and felt compelled to send her a gift of $500. Margaret was stunned. She hadn't asked this person for anything. She hadn't even thought about this relative in months. But her subconscious mind, now programmed with abundance consciousness, had activated the law of divine supply, and the universe responded. On day 12, one of Margaret's employers offered her a full-time position with benefits and double her current hourly rate. This meant she could quit her other 2 jobs and actually sleep. On day 19, Margaret discovered an error in her taxes from 3 years prior and received a refund of $1,200. And on day 28, a business opportunity came to her through a friend, an opportunity that would eventually become her primary source of income and generate more money than all 3 of her previous jobs combined. Within 30 days of practicing this sleep technique, Margaret's entire financial reality transformed. Not because she worked harder, because she reprogrammed her subconscious mind to align with abundance instead of struggle. Florence Scovel Shinn documented dozens of similar cases in her practice, and she was emphatic about this principle. She wrote, "The battle is won in the subconscious. If you can impress your subconscious with the reality of abundance before sleep, your subconscious will work all night to manifest that reality in the physical world." This isn't wishful thinking or positive affirmations. This is precise spiritual law. Your subconscious mind is the bridge between divine mind, which contains all wealth, and your physical experience. When you program your subconscious with abundance consciousness, you open the channel through which divine supply flows into your life. When you program it with lack consciousness, you close that channel. The choice is yours. And sleep is the optimal time to make this programming, because your conscious mind, which is usually full of doubt and resistance, is quiet. Your subconscious is receptive, and whatever you impress upon it in those final moments before sleep gets repeated and reinforced all night long. Now I need to address something that confuses many people. This technique is not about manipulating reality or forcing the universe to give you money. This is about alignment. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that prosperity already exists for you in divine mind. It's already established. It's already yours by divine right. But most people block their prosperity through poverty consciousness, which is simply the belief in lack and limitation. When you fall asleep repeating affirmations of abundance and visualizing prosperity, you're not creating something new. You're dissolving the mental barriers that prevent you from receiving what's already yours. Shinn described this as removing the cork that blocks the bottle. The supply is infinite and always flowing. Your job is to remove whatever is blocking its flow into your life. And sleep is when your subconscious is most willing to release old programming and accept new instructions. I want you to pause here with me for a moment because I need to ask you something honest. What's the last thought you have before falling asleep most nights? Are you reviewing your financial problems? Worrying about bills? Stressing about how you'll make it through next month? If so, you're using the most powerful manifestation time of your day to create more lack. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that worry is inverted faith. When you worry, you're having faith in the negative outcome, and your subconscious doesn't distinguish between what you want and what you worry about. It only knows what you focus on with emotion. So when you fall asleep in worry, your subconscious spends 8 hours manifesting whatever you worried about. If you're ready to stop using your sleep time against yourself financially, comment below. I'm exhausted from financial struggle. This admission matters because it signals to the universe you're ready for a new way, and your honesty helps others admit they're struggling too. Let's now explore the exact technique you can use tonight to activate divine supply while you sleep. The technique Florence Scovel Shinn taught has 3 essential components. The first is the declaration or affirmation. This must be a positive statement in present tense that affirms abundance as already established. Never use future tense like I will be prosperous because that keeps prosperity always in the future. Never use negative constructions like I am not poor because the subconscious ignores the not and only hears poor. The declaration must be powerful, positive, and present. Some examples Florence used with her students include, I am one with infinite supply. All channels are free and all doors fly open. God's wealth circulates in my life and flows to me in avalanches of abundance. My good comes to me under grace in perfect ways. I am a magnet for money and prosperity flows to me easily. Infinite Spirit, open the way for great abundance for me. I am an irresistible magnet for all that belongs to me by divine right. Choose one declaration that resonates with your spirit. You'll be repeating this every night, so it must feel true to you even if your current circumstances don't reflect it yet. The second component is visualization. As you repeat your declaration, you must simultaneously visualize yourself living in abundance. See money in your bank account. See bills paid easily. See yourself buying what you want without anxiety. See unexpected checks arriving. See opportunities appearing. Feel the relief, the joy, the freedom of financial abundance. Florence was adamant that feeling is the secret. She wrote, faith is expectancy. You must feel it as already done. When you combine your declaration with vivid imagery and genuine emotion, you create what she called a spiritual treatment. This treatment impresses your subconscious so deeply that it begins to manifest in physical reality. The more detailed your visualization and the stronger your feeling, the faster the manifestation. The third component is persistence and timing. You must practice this technique every single night without exception. Missing even one night breaks the momentum you're building in your subconscious. And you must continue until you fall asleep with the declaration on your lips and the vision in your mind. Some nights this might take 5 minutes. Other nights it might take 20. It doesn't matter how long it takes. What matters is that the last conscious thought you have before sleep is abundance, not lack. Florence taught her students to think of this as planting seeds in the garden of the subconscious. One night of planting doesn't produce a harvest, but consistent daily planting creates an abundant garden. Your subconscious is that garden, and every night you fall asleep in abundance consciousness, you're planting seeds that will manifest as money, opportunities, ideas, connections, and unexpected supply. Let me share another case that demonstrates the power of this practice. In 1936, a man I'll call Thomas was facing bankruptcy. His business had failed. His creditors were demanding payment. He had no income and no prospects. He was falling asleep every night in absolute terror about his financial future. Then a friend told him about Florence Scovel Shinn's teachings, and specifically this sleep technique. Thomas was skeptical because his situation seemed too dire for any spiritual practice to fix, but desperation made him willing to try. He chose the declaration, "Infinite Spirit, open the way for my immediate and endless supply. Let all that is mine by divine right now reach me." Every night, Thomas would lie in bed, close his eyes, and repeat this declaration while visualizing checks arriving in his mailbox, clients calling him, opportunities appearing. The first week, nothing changed externally, but internally, Thomas noticed something remarkable. He was sleeping better. His anxiety was decreasing. He was waking up with ideas and inspiration he hadn't had in months. This was his subconscious beginning to shift from lack consciousness to abundance consciousness. On day 10, Thomas received a call from a former business associate who wanted to partner with him on a new venture. On day 17, a debt that Thomas thought was lost forever was repaid unexpectedly. On day 24, Thomas landed a consulting contract that would pay more in 3 months than his failed business had made in a year. And by day 40, Thomas was completely out of debt and building a new business that would eventually make him wealthier than he had ever been before. When he later wrote to Florence Scovel Shinn to thank her, he said something profound. "I didn't realize I was creating my poverty every night by falling asleep in fear. The moment I changed what I impressed on my subconscious before sleep, everything changed. My external circumstances didn't shift overnight, but my consciousness shifted immediately. And once my consciousness changed, my circumstances had no choice but to follow." This is the principle Florence Scovel Shinn taught and proved repeatedly. Consciousness creates circumstance, not the other way around. Your current financial situation is a reflection of your habitual thoughts, words, and beliefs about money. If you want to change your financial situation, you must first change your consciousness. And there is no more powerful time to shift consciousness than the moments before sleep, when your subconscious is most receptive and your conscious mind is quiet. Shinn wrote in, "Your word is your wand. Change your words, and you change your world." But I would add, change your final thoughts before sleep, and you change your financial reality. Because those final thoughts become the instructions your subconscious follows all night long while your conscious mind rests. Now let me address a common objection. Some people say this sounds like denial or pretending. If I'm broke and I affirm abundance, aren't I just lying to myself? Florence Scovel Shinn would answer this way. You're not affirming what is. You're affirming what is established in divine mind and calling it into physical manifestation. In the spiritual realm, your prosperity is already complete. It exists right now in infinite supply, but it cannot manifest in the physical realm until you align your consciousness with it. When you affirm abundance while currently experiencing lack, you're not denying your current situation. You're refusing to accept it as permanent. You're declaring the truth of the spiritual realm and commanding it to manifest in the physical realm. Shinn called this demonstration. You demonstrate in the outer what you believe in the inner. If you believe in lack, you demonstrate lack. If you believe in abundance, even before you see it, you demonstrate abundance. She also addressed the question of timing. People often ask, how long before I see results? Shinn's answer was always the same. It depends on how deeply poverty consciousness is embedded in your subconscious and how consistently you practice this technique. Some people see shifts within days, others require weeks or months. But she guaranteed that if you persist in programming your subconscious with abundance before sleep every single night, you will see results. The law is impersonal and unfailing. It works for everyone who works with it. Your subconscious doesn't care if you're rich or poor, educated or uneducated, deserving or undeserving. It simply manifests whatever you consistently impress upon it. If you consistently impress lack, it manifests lack. If you consistently impress abundance, it manifests abundance. The law is neutral. You direct it through your thoughts and words. Let me share one more case that illustrates a crucial aspect of this teaching. A woman named Elizabeth learned this technique from one of Florence Scovel Shinn's students in 1942. Elizabeth was a widow living on a small pension that barely covered her basic needs. She had no savings, no assets, no way to increase her income through work because of her age. By every logical measure, her financial situation was hopeless. But Elizabeth had faith. She began practicing the sleep technique every night. Her declaration was, "I am one with God's infinite abundance. My every need is met with ease and grace." She repeated this while visualizing herself living comfortably, her bills paid, her needs met, abundance surrounding her. For 6 weeks, nothing changed externally. Elizabeth continued to struggle financially, but she persisted in her nightly practice because Florence's student had told her, "Faith is loyalty to the unseen reality. You must remain loyal to the spiritual truth of abundance even when physical circumstances scream lack." Then on day 43, something inexplicable happened. Elizabeth received a letter from a lawyer informing her that a distant cousin she had never met had passed away and left her an inheritance of $75,000. Elizabeth was shocked. She didn't even know this cousin existed. She had never asked for or expected any inheritance. But her subconscious mind, programmed nightly with abundance consciousness, had activated the law of divine supply, and the universe delivered exactly what she needed through a channel she never anticipated. Florence Scovel Shinn called this demonstration under grace in perfect ways. When you align with divine supply, the universe finds the perfect path to deliver your prosperity. It might come through an inheritance, an unexpected opportunity, a new job, a business idea, a gift, a refund, or 1,000 other channels you cannot predict or control. Your job is not to figure out how. Your job is to maintain abundance consciousness and let divine mind handle the how. This brings us to a critical understanding. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that there are two types of effort: human effort and divine effort. Human effort is you trying to force, manipulate, control, and make things happen through your limited power. This is exhausting and often ineffective. Divine effort is you aligning your consciousness with spiritual law and allowing the infinite power of divine mind to work through you. This is effortless and always effective. When you fall asleep programming your subconscious with abundance, you're activating divine effort. You're not doing the work. Divine mind is doing the work through you. Your subconscious becomes the bridge through which infinite supply flows into your physical experience. This is why Margaret could quit 2 jobs and double her income. This is why Thomas could go from bankruptcy to prosperity. This is why Elizabeth could receive an inheritance she never expected. None of them worked harder physically. They worked smarter spiritually by aligning their subconscious with the truth of divine abundance. So tonight, before you sleep, I want you to do something different. Instead of reviewing your problems, worrying about bills, or stressing about money, I want you to choose one powerful declaration of abundance. It could be one of the declarations I shared, or one you create that resonates with your spirit. Lie in your bed, close your eyes, and begin repeating this declaration slowly with feeling. As you speak it, visualize yourself living in prosperity. See the abundance you desire as already manifested. Feel the relief, the joy, the freedom of financial security. Continue repeating your declaration and holding this vision until you fall asleep with abundance on your mind and in your heart. Do this every single night for at least 30 days. Don't judge the results. Don't check every day to see if it's working. Just maintain the practice faithfully and watch what happens. Florence Scovel Shinn promised that if you impress your subconscious with abundance before sleep consistently, your subconscious will manifest that abundance in your waking life. The law is precise. The law is impersonal. The law is unfailing. Your prosperity is not a matter of luck or chance. It's a matter of consciousness. And consciousness is cultivated through daily practice. One final truth Florence Scovel Shinn taught that completes this understanding. She said, "You cannot attract what you want. You can only attract what you are. If you are consciousness of lack, you attract lack. If you are consciousness of abundance, you attract abundance." The sleep technique I've shared today transforms what you are at the subconscious level. When you fall asleep in abundance consciousness night after night, you literally become a different person energetically. Your vibration shifts. Your frequency changes. And when your frequency changes, what you attract must change because like attracts like. This is spiritual law. You cannot remain the same person internally and expect your external circumstances to transform. But when you transform internally through consistent practice of programming your subconscious with abundance, your external circumstances have no choice but to reflect that internal transformation. Your sleep hours are the most powerful manifestation hours of your entire day because this is when your subconscious is most receptive to reprogramming. Stop wasting those hours worrying about lack. Start using those hours to activate divine supply. Your prosperity is waiting. The choice is yours. If you've made it this far, it's because your soul recognizes truth when it hears it. Divine prosperity exists for people who are ready to align their consciousness with the spiritual laws that govern abundance. This isn't just another finance channel. This is where we explore the metaphysical principles Florence Scovel Shinn taught that transform financial reality from the inside out. If you're ready to activate divine supply in your life, subscribe to Divine Prosperity and turn on notifications. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we release new teachings on spiritual laws of abundance, the power of the spoken word, and how to dissolve prosperity blocks. Next video, we're revealing Florence Scovel Shinn's most powerful morning prosperity ritual, the practice she taught that guarantees financial breakthrough when done consistently for 40 days. Your prosperity is divinely ordained. The choice to claim it is yours.